Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
To play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Start with Chris, add a dash of sport, squeeze in some music, then shake, don't stir. And you've got the ultimate blend, LTID, with your host, Chris.
Good evening, everybody. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, good day, goodbye. Hello. How the devil are we all? Welcome along. This is LTID TV from Leicester Till I Die. We are live on your Facebook, Twitter, and your YouTube platforms. And thank you very much for joining us. It's the new time, the new place for, well, not new, new time for the post-match show. Gives us all a bit of time to calm down, which I think we've needed to this weekend. If you're listening to us on the podcast, thank you so much for lending me your ears. So I'm just having a look because can everybody hear me okay? We are available on all the major podcast platforms. And if you've got a smart speaker, ask it to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die. And of course, you can find us on any social that you want to. Well, not just fans, but anything apart from that. And there they all are, going along the bottom, or our social platforms, either as LTID TV or Leicester Till I Die. Please let me know if you can hear me okay. Somebody just mentioned might not be able to, but hopefully you can. We'll see how we go on. Nobody said they can't hear me at the moment. So how are we feeling after that? It was a bit of a strange weekend in a lot of ways. It was almost like it was a free hit. It was almost like it free hit. Nate can hear me fine. It's in America. It doesn't. Oh, Leeds have just scored. Now, what did I go for? Oh, yes, Brad. 2-1. Blow the whistle now. Good evening, Nate. How are you? Welcome along. Bit of a free hit in a way for Dean and the guys. But we wanted to see an improvement for the first 20 minutes. I don't know what happened, to be honest with you. We just didn't turn up. But no, in fairness, Man City did the job that they had to do. And I've got to say, after that, we did see improvements. And did you know? I didn't know. Did you know? Not a lot of people know this. That you can make substitutions at half-time in the Premier League match. Oh, I didn't either. But apparently we can. Let's see if our guest this evening also knows. And I did say we're going to have Steve in because he did promise to come on. Unfortunately, I don't know where he is, but he's not in with us. But as soon as we get Brad on camera, we'll bring him in and we'll have a chat and talk of the beautiful devil himself. Here he is. Brad, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. You know, we all laugh and a joke on here, but at least you can always rely on me to be on time. I would never, ever fall asleep and not be late to a show or have work issues. Never like me, mate. You know me. True as I am.
Never. I mean, if you were talking about Craig, I'd believe you, but not you.
No.
And the thing is, if I ask you to do something as well, you do it.
Yeah, of course, I'm me. Ever forget?
No, I never get overshot. I forgot, Chris. I know it's always there on time, early. Well, you're just the perfect.
I blame VAR.
Sorry?
I blame VAR like everybody else does. That seems to work.
Where's your thing, bro? Oh,
yeah. Even TV review, I want it now.
Good evening, Nate. Good evening, Leicester for Life. Good evening, Blue Fox. I hope you are all well. Another 3 points for me by the look of it at the moment. I'm sure it won't stay like that. You know Liverpool. Look, let me just say a couple of things I want to say before we get going. And I want to start off with this. First of all, I want to point out that down the right-hand side of your Twitter stream, it always gives you trending, what's trending. And this evening, we've got Big Six, Bournemouth, Just Stop Oil, and Wankers. Now, what is the difference between the big six and wankers? But apparently, wankers is trending on Twitter. I think that's what they call it anyway. What have you been writing, Brad?
I can't tell you that. It's part of the Wankers Committee.
What happens in the wankers club stays in the wankers club.
Yeah. Well, unless I forget the sock, but that's a different story.
Oh, crusty socks. Right, here we go. I want to just say, because I have been very quick to criticise Mahrez in the past. Love him for everything he did for us. Of course I do. But, the way he left and the going on strike and the sitting on, Paris airport floors waiting for his manager to ring him. But this was classy. He put this out at the weekend. Important 3 points today. Focus on the next one. On a personal note, I'd like to wish at LCFC the best possible outcome for this season. You can do it. And like I say, I'm quick enough to criticise, and I've just got to say that's class in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's always nice. Look, at the end of the day, he knows that he made some foolish mistakes in trying to leave Leicester, and Leicester made their own foolish mistakes in a lot of ways. And they'll if you wanted to talk about it, you'd get several different views who was in the right more than the other. But at the end of the day, you let bygones be bygones. He has a lot of very good memories, and majority of the fan base is still very fond of Mahrez. Despite how it ended at Leicester, fair play to him. You've got to give credit to it. I hope you'd overtake Arsenal, and then Arteta out can trend number one around the world again.
Yeah. Boo is in. It's a shock to see Boo in.
Scared me there. It scared me there, Boo did.
There's me 3 points gone out the window.
Why?
Liverpool have just got a third.
Oh, for God's sake, you could have at least made me happy and told me that Leeds had equalised.
No, I'm ahead of you now.
Yes, you are.
I've got to say, we touched on this just a little bit. There's a show on the channel, LTID TV, YouTube. It's called Life's a Pitch. It's basically my soapbox forum. And I had a bit of a go about it, didn't I, Brad, at the weekend, about him?
Yeah, just you did. Although get him out now is a little bit more extreme. If anyone thought you had a bit of extreme views, I understand it's not nice to see and we don't want to see it, but that's a bit extreme in terms of reaction. But hey, everybody's entitled to it.
No, and you're entitled to yours, Boo. And I do get what you're saying, because we're going to mention it later. But look, we're on the topic again. And people have got to remember that if we criticise a player, it isn't because, we don't like them or we suddenly hate them or whatever. I know, with Chilwell it's different, but you know what I mean? We're allowed to criticise the players. And I think that for me, it was the fact that it was Vardy that did it. If it was Vestergaard, then I'd be kind of saying like, okay.
You're a knobhead.
Yeah, but I think it's because it was Vardy. That's what hurt. Like I've said many times, I'd bend over, I'd have his children if you walked in here now. But I didn't like what he did, to be honest with you. Maybe he was inviting Haaland to a party because he was the first Leicester player to reach 300 Premier League appearances.
Yes, that is. My phone's just being annoying. Give me a second. That's impressive, but I do hope for this season it's the last of the sentiment we give him. I hope that was Dean Smith going, let's get the 300 out of the way now, so I don't have to rely on him later on because his legs are gone. And that's the last appearance he'll make as a starting player, unless we get safe, of course, before the season ends. But
yeah, I do. We'll come on to Dean Smith. He's got a lot to say about a lot of players. To be honest with you. But I have got some good news. Good evening, Doug. How are you? Welcome along. And Leicester for Life is agreeing with Boo. All you need to do, Boo, is marry a Mrs. Who.
Oh, for God's sake.
Come on.
Oh, dear.
I should have had I've got a new mug, and I'm not going to say what it is because it's special for the right occasion. But look,
Is that a joke?
It wasn't, was it really? But no good crying over spilt milk. Right, let's just have a look and see. I just want to bring something up because this honestly, Brad, you will be. This will make you so happy. And I'm just going to bring it up. Can you see Leicester's Facebook page there? Oh, we've
To a
beaten Man
degree,
United
yes.
2-1.
Oh, that's brilliant, because that means that, because if the under-21s had lost that game tonight, they would have officially been relegated. So
Yes, I
they're
believe
fighting.
so.
They are
Yeah,
fighting for their
yeah.
lives.
But look, under 21s, Vestergaard and Bertrand back.
Yay, let's start a party. I mean, Bertrand, I don't really actually have any malice towards, but the fucking twat of a lamppost is just get out of the club, please. Still don't like him, still don't rate him, still don't understand why we care about him. Bertrand, it's a sick note, so I can't really say anything about it, but yay. Vestergaard played football.
I mean, on that point, and I agree with you to a degree. Of course, I do. And you know, it was funny thing. I was on Ant's channel last night doing the review, and I've never agreed with him so much. And I was telling him that I agree with you a lot, but I just don't on camera because obviously it makes it more interesting if we disagree. But you know, I feel sorry for Bertrand because I think he's not necessarily a bad defender, but he shouldn't have been bought because he's not the player for our system. And with Bertrand, I thought he looked the best buy of that summer until he got injured, and now we've never seen him again.
Yeah. Again, like, it's one of them, isn't it? He's just been an unfortunate player in a disastrous transfer sagas for us in terms of players. And at the end of the day, it's one of them that's always going down as what if, because he does have some good attributes. You know, we saw him taking free kicks in pre-season. He looked quite deadly from them, putting good balls into the box. He's very clever with what he can do. It's just our House of Cards has a better chance of standing up in a tornado than he does having been fit for a game, it seems, in the last year and a half, bless him. You do sympathise with him for all the injuries as well, to be fair.
Yeah. And yet, we just mentioned that before you came in, Doug, your score, because I had you down for 2-1. So you've just cost me 3 points. Thank you very much. Terry says, how dare Brad criticise Rodgers' 2 top signings? I know.
I'm sorry. I'll cause a riot if I speak. If I speak, I cause trouble.
We have another show for that. Now, look, Manchester City 3, Leicester City 1. It was a free hit, and I'll say that, and I don't have a problem with saying that, because there's teams that have been better than Leicester this season that have gone to the Etihad and have not come away with just losing by 2 goals. And when we were 3-0 down after 20 minutes, and I was looking at Southampton fans, you know, in streams going like, wait, our record's going to be safe today, isn't it? It's going to go now, you know, it's going to be 10 by the end of the game. And I'm sat there thinking, bloody could do, you know. And so I think 3-1 isn't to be sniffed at, but, and you could argue that, you know, did Manchester City take their foot off the brake when they got 3-0 up after 20 minutes, Brad?
Yeah, it's easy to say that, but the thing is, there's a difference to how Man City take their foot off the gas and how other teams take the foot off the gas. Other teams take the foot off the gas by slowing the play down. They're methodical. They don't give you a sniff to get a goal to get back into it or have enough time to get back into it. They take the tempo right down. Man City were already doing that, so it's actually kind of hard to judge how they went about that second half to do it. The way they take the foot off the gas is they take Haaland off, and they take Diver Grealish off, and they take like them sort of players off. Because, you know, you can't rule Bayern Munich out of a comeback. I mean, Man City, the only thing they're bottling at the moment is Champions League. So why that's still a thing for them, they'll be cautious that they don't want to let a 3-0 lead slip in the Champions League. So yeah, it's understandable. And I know we'll probably talk about it later on, so I won't say too much on it. But it was nice to hear what Dean Smith said about that conundrum, that kind of situation. Was it Man City taking the foot off the gas, or were we better, or was it a mixture of both? Because you've still got to give credit to both. You know, Man City tried to not give Leicester any impetus, although it nearly backfired on them. Oh, well, fuck you, Leeds. I'm glad
No,
I should have
it's
seen.
offside. Don't worry, it's offside.
This is the last time I ever give Leeds any credit. They're going to lose every game from now on. But you know what I mean? You have to give credit to Leicester because Man U could have still strolled that around the park and scored another goal.
Yes.
They could have scored 2. It could have been 5-0. Leicester needed to show something. And we saw something. And like we said, Chris, doesn't matter how much control Man City had. Right side of Edison, Madders makes it 3-2. Inch inside the post, it's 3-all. You know, Pratt doesn't scuff his chance. Could have been a goal. It's just one of them. You take what it is in football, and you know we wouldn't have deserved anything. It'd have been the, but we have to take positives just because of where we are.
I think so. I mean, Boris said here, and I say respect your opinion, Boris. I don't agree with this one. Free hit if you've thrown the towel in. I don't know whether that's fair or not. And I've got to say, Man City showed us a lot of respect, I think. I mean, you look at that game, and if you're Man City, you're thinking, this is a stroll in the park. Let's put the B team out and we can beat Leicester. But they didn't. They've got that Champions League game, midweek this week. And if it's a 3-0 up, but they want that Champions League more than anything else. We know that. And they could have easily, thought, right, that's where we're going to put all our eggs, if you like. But they didn't. They played the first team. And yes, they came at us because that was the game plan. They wanted to come at us and put the game to bed, knowing that they've now got, a position with what Arsenal did to catch them up. So I think fair play to Manchester City for showing us that respect.
Yeah, definitely. It shows that they looked at the game and went, look, don't look at where they are in the league. Look at what the situation is. They've got a new gaffer. They're training in high spirits. He's saying a lot of positive stuff, la-di-da-da, and all that jazz. Let's not allow them to give us a frustrating game because, had that wonder strike by John Stones not gone in, and indeed he didn't play cartwheels with his hands, you don't know what could have happened, and that's the joys of football. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but Man City, like you said, Pep Guardiola would have made sure they went into that game going, let's not give them 60 minutes of 0-0, please, because they will get a goal and they will feel they can hold on to it if we do that. We need to kill these off. And they did ultimately, because the result was 3-1. But, it's respect due where it is. And you've got to give credit to your opposition when they do that to you.
They do, yeah. I mean, and it's not bad, when you're taking a player like Haaland off and bringing a player like Alvarez on. That's a nice place to be in, isn't it? It's a bit different to taking Sutar off and bringing Vestergaard on. But look, you know what I mean. Look, let's just quickly run through the goals. That was a stunner for the first goal, but could we have played it better from the corner?
Yeah, in hindsight, you could have, but you could have, yeah, but you take into account where we are, how we've been at set pieces, how terrible it's been, and then you think them players know what's around them. You've got Haaland breathing down your neck. You've got Jack Grealish in the box. You're thinking, hoof it, get it clear. Gets it aerial, but no distance on it. And when it drops like that, Leeds, fuck off and go and get relegated, will you? Piss me off. Just piss me off.
So what did you go
Southampton, Leeds and Forest can all go down. Fuck it. We'll stay up. Sorry, Everton. They can stay up and all.
Look, Boris is going here. 5-4-1, he's throwing the towel in. I mean...
But it wasn't. This annoys me. This annoys me because people don't understand that football's changed in a way, right? Yes, 5-4-1 was how Leicester played off the ball, but then there's in possession of the ball, and in possession of the ball, we went to that attacking mode. We went 3-4-1-2. You have to understand how lineups work. A team doesn't play just one way for 90 minutes. They have when we've not got the ball, this is how I need us to be. We need to be backs to the wall, defending deep, getting the ball, and then springing the trap. And when we spring the trap, I want us to move in this shape. And that's where you get it from. Times are not the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and the 60s anymore. Football has this newfound thing where you have to have two styles of play depending on who has the ball.
Yeah.
It's not throwing in the towel trying to wait for the ball and then do something with it, because that's how we won the bloody league.
Another first tonight. Terry's talking sense. I'm only joking, Terry. Yeah, I love you, Terry. I jest. Rodgers had 10 games to assess his players when he arrived. Smith has none. And Man City was the first opportunity. And let's face it, we weren't going to get relegated, really, when Rodgers took over. So, again, he had a bit of an easier ride. I think it was a game where Dean Smith will go, right, I'm going to try a few things. He brought Soyuncu back, and we'll come on into individual players afterwards. But he'll look at it and he'll go, well, that didn't work. That actually worked quite well. Yeah, that other thing did. Yeah, hopefully that's what he's doing. And like I say, for me, look, when was the last time we beat Man City? We beat them 6-3 a few seasons ago when they didn't have a defence.
No, that was 5-2, and it was COVID.
5-2, 6-3.
We lost 6-3 was the defeat. Yeah.
But they didn't have a defend. They haven't bought a decent defender then, if you remember. So it was always going to be a hard game. Like I say, Boris, there's a lot of teams in better position than Leicester that have gone to at the Etihad this season and not come away with a bigger loss than that. Second goal. But yeah, Terry, you're obviously 100% right there. Terry, Brad, the second goal. What? I mean, we'll come on to him later, and first question is what the hell was Ndidi doing on the pitch? But we'll cover that later. But my God, how many penalties does he give away?
Enough to scratch your head and go, how do you not know where to put your hands when a ball comes in? For me, right, when managers like to maybe do some individual training with players,
yeah,
right, I think they should put a shock collar on Ndidi, and every time he goes into the defensive box, his own box, he should get shocked until he's learned, And if people might say, and people are going to take that well out of context and say that's abuse or I'm being something or other, please don't. I mean it in jest, as in, like, you know what I mean? Like you would someone else, like give him a chance. You see it on TV shows, so please don't.
The second time tonight, Brad's kind of convinced me he's into sadomasochism.
Well, that's for another show and another website. I can't tell you my OnlyFans account yet, but anyway. But you know what I mean? Just to teach him, no, don't do that in the box. Stop putting your hands up in the box, because it's not like every penalty he's given away we've looked at have gone, that's harsh. It's a strand. It's a leading leg. It's an arm next to his face. Even Dean Smith said in his post-match, if he doesn't have his hand there, it hits him in the face. Why is he afraid to let him in the face? It's coming out for a corner. It's not for a corner, the penalty.
How many defenders, and this again was happened for the third goal, defenders these days turn their back on the ball. And it not just Leicester players, because let's be honest with you, we would not have won the FA Cup if the Chelsea defender had not turned his back on the ball, because it makes it, if you side on that, well, except for me because I'm a fat bastard, but most people, that area is a lot smaller than that area. So Terry said it's a great idea. What about just tying his hands together?
Well, yeah, he'd still find a way though, wouldn't he? He'd probably put his hands up just to ask someone to untie the rope and legitimately give away a penalty.
Yes, yeah, fair point. He is a liability. And to me, this kind of, unfortunately, and whether I know I got accused by Ant yesterday of Rodgers hating, and I've got to say, yeah, I was. Because you remember how players and managers are when they leave the club, and you forget the success. And yes, he has brought us success. But he has also ruined a lot of players. Tielemans is not the player that he was 2 or 3 seasons ago. And Ndidi is another example.
Yeah. Lost his way, lost his head. I think I watched the majority of your stream back with Ant, and I was like, just feels like he, it just feels like he's got it in the back of his mind about that injury. And, him and Ricardo are 2 players that we've both discussed. And I'm in agreement with what you both said about Ricardo, that maybe this season we need to see what value he holds with his injury record, and maybe it's time to move him on. Not because I don't think he's a talent that could do the job, but it's just that injury-prone record is leaving us cold because we're not feeling the need to replace him because we know if he's fit, he's one of the best right backs we've seen at the club. But yeah, I just something's gone in his head, and maybe it's time we move him on. And I don't know, 22 million on Samore and Mendy deserve the chance. Yes, they are. I hope they do, Doug. I hope they do. Sorry, Leeds fans, but I hope they go down.
All I can say, Doug, is if you're doing this job earlier in the season, they might be going down. But at the moment, because you couldn't beat them earlier in the season, they're actually outside the relegation zone. Yeah, he's done it a bit. He has done it a bit for Barnes, and he's done it a bit for KDH as well. Look, third goal, everybody again is jumping on Ndidi, but I think KDH takes a lot more blame for that. It was a lovely move that we had that was going forward, probably one of the best moves we had in the whole match, and then it was an awful pass to drop Ndidi in it. And I'm sorry, a lot of people were saying that, well, indeed, he should have won the ball, but he was up against the best midfielder probably in the world at the moment. And it's hard enough playing against them when you're not being played into trouble. But KDH has to take the blame for that.
Yeah, he does. I look back at the incident as well afterwards, and I just thought, I know you could argue. I'd say it's 70-30 in who takes the blame. It's 70% Dewsbury Hall's because he ruins the build-up with a very wayward and short pass. But this has been a lack of confidence, and maybe it's something Dean Smith, hasn't. He's not a miracle worker. He hasn't been able to do it in 3 days, but he'll go and try and put right mentally for these players. Indeed, he was statuesque. And that's where I give him the 30% of the blame, because I'm not saying he would have been able to win the ball ahead of the player, but he might have got something on the ball which would have maybe deflected it out for a throw-in or given it back to a Leicester player. But yeah, KDH, I'm echoing so much your end, mate. I can hear myself back. I don't know what's going on.
You're not echoing at my end, for once.
Right, 2 seconds. Is that better? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah, but I could hear you before, so...
Right, okay, because I'm now struggling to hear you. That's annoying. But yeah, I think KDH has had issues in the same reasons that Maddison and Tielemans have. They've been overplayed. Yeah. He's been overplayed and overworked in positions that aren't his natural ability, which is stemming his development, not improving it.
Yeah. Good evening, Lena. Lena is in. I'll try and talk a bit louder. Hopefully that might help. Welcome along, Lena. I hope you are well. Substitutions at half-time, it's like, my God, we can do that, I think, maybe it was just, I think it was just Brendan, wasn't it? But he looked at that, he saw what changes needed to be made, and again, we're going to talk individual players, but interesting substitution for me was not Vardy going off because, we all say he's spent, 5-1. Liverpool are going for another 9, aren't they? But for me, Vardy's a bit of a spent force as a starter. But Thomas coming on for Christensen.
Yeah, I felt... I know a lot of people instantly were surprised because since Christensen has signed, he's got that energy, that passion that's kind of been missing from the squad. It's been missing from the pitch. It's the big thing that the fans look for and have been starved of since the start of the season. But against Man City, it was a case of you're coming at half time. It's 3-0. Yes, you want to show a bit of impetus and a bit of fight and go for something and try and hope that Man City are going to switch off a little bit, give you the ball a bit more, be a bit careless and get the confidence, which Leicester would have and had to have taken from their second half performance. I actually think it was a smart move by Dean Smith. I think it was because you can't expose yourself in that second half to more damage. Yeah. And I've always said this, Luke Thomas is a very good defensive left wing back. He's not someone that's going to push on and be confident, driving past players and giving Harvey Barnes an option on that left to go past. Not as often as Christensen is, because he hasn't got the pace and natural fitness like Christensen has. I mean, that guy could run up and down the pitch like a Duracell bunny, couldn't he? He'd never run out.
Yeah.
But at that moment in time, it was finding the perfect mix in the team. And you maybe needed to chill out, leaving the defence so spare. So I actually like the substitution. And we've talked many a times about Vardy not being a starter anymore.
Sorry, I wasn't waving at you then. I was waving at the Leeds fans that are leaving.
Oh, yeah, Leeds fans, there you are. That's what I think of your team and your efforts.
But look, I know it's only one game, and I know we're praising the manager after we've lost that game. But to look at that and go, do you know what? That's not working. I'm going to change it at half time. You know, Christensen, we know how good he is, etc., etc., etc. But having the balls to say, do you know, like in the women's game, you know, in the women's Euros when we won it, how often the and I've forgotten the lady's name. I do apologise, but the manageress of England, she took the big players off. Names didn't matter. And at last, we've got a management team that appears to do that.
Yeah, and when we've become a bit stale this season, it's been the big eyebrow raiser as to our frustrations towards our former manager Brendan, because for all his experience and for all his know-how and for everything he did right in that first 2.5 years, he just turned it off and broke the switch because he just stopped doing it. And I suppose that's the thing that's really made us take to Dean Smith so instantaneously, is because during the 2 games where Brendan's statue was in charge and we really wanted to see something different, even if the results were still bad, obviously we were praying they weren't, but the effort to change things up was there. But at least Dean Smith saw it, and like you said, don't care for your name, off you come. You're not doing your job properly, or the way I've set you up isn't working properly, so I need to change it up. So you on, you off, sort of thing. It was good. It was refreshing. It's what the team needs.
Then, by the way,
oh, I probably did, mate. Sorry.
I was going to say he's the ex leader of Rhodesia, wasn't he? But,
yeah.
Look, so those changes were made. And we saw sort of Tielemans and KDH go off later and Mendy and Pratt come on. But we had them worried in that second half, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And again, you can say all the things you like about Man City made changes. Man City had one eye on that. If anyone's ever seen Pep Guardiola after a win when they've conceded a goal, you know what he's like to them players, because he won't be impressed by the way they conceded the goal. He won't be impressed in the way they give away the ball for the Maddison chance. So again, you can say what you like. This is why I hate stats, and this is a perfect example as to why I don't really care too much for stats, because what really matters is what happens on the pitch. And what happened on the pitch in that second half is Leicester scored. They had 3 good chances, 2 over the bar, one was well saved, 1 hit the post. In that second half, there was only 1 team scoring goals, and it wasn't the home side.
Yeah.
And, and people might say, oh, you're clutching at straws for positives, you're clutching at straws and that. Well, you're in the wrong business. I mean, as a fan, if you're don't get into management if that's your opinion, because you might, I know these professionals, and it might sound daft, but sometimes the professionals don't need a rollicking. They don't need to be told everything they did wrong. Yes, they'll work on that and analyse the game, which is what Dean Smith pointed at doing after in his post-match. But he also was very keen to strengthen the positives of what they did, their reaction to going 3-0 down, their reaction in the second half. I mean, when was the last time, Chris, and this goes to anybody in the comments, genuine question, I'd probably say it'd probably be the last time we won a game would be the answer. But when was the last time that I'll take out the wins. When was the last time Leicester were losing a game and you still saw them trying to score? You still saw them trying to get something from the game in the 91st, 92nd, 93rd minute, because that's what we were doing against Man City. We didn't get to 84 minutes and go, well, it's 3-1, we ain't scoring 2 goals, give it up. No, we had a chance, and and even in the 93rd minute, Iheanacho hit the post. And he weren't like, well, I'm not bothered. It was, oh, God, I wish I'd have scored that one. We're still at a couple of minutes, sort of thing.
Talking of Nacho hitting the post, I mean, at 3-1, had Maddison squared the ball to Nacho, had his shot been an inch to the left, we would have been looking at a 3-3, and with a hat trick for the Nacho man. And we'd be looking at a different story, wouldn't we? That's how close we were. And whether you say they took the foot off the pedal or what, but they'd got all their big hitters off the pitch by this time. Obviously can't bring them back on. And that's, I think, why he was worried, Pep.
Yeah, it was, and again, it just shows the attitude in the way the management went about it. Because I feel like if Brendan Rodgers had managed that game and Ian Nacho had scored the goal and hit the post, it'd have been more focused on the fact that he was unlucky and he should have done better with his one that he missed and talk about the one he scored. You know, you look at the way Leicester went about it, and like you said, whether it was 21 shots to 3. What would have mattered at the end of the day, had them chances been put away, is Leicester took as many as Man City did. Yeah, at the end of the day, one very good point was, apart from that save off Riyad Mahrez, was there anything Iverson really had to do, apart from pick the ball out of his net 3 times? No, not really. Was there anything that Ederson had to do, apart from pick the ball out of his net once? He made a couple of saves. So, in the end, it doesn't matter whether you deserve it or not on stats. It matters what goes in the net, and we would have taken a 3-3 draw.
I know you don't like it, but we will be looking at the stats in a bit. But yeah, you say it, and I think, to be honest with you, had Brendan, and yeah, I am a bit of I've got a bit of hate on Brendan because he's ruined my football club, and I think I'm entitled to have some hate on him. You know, where we are is there's other people involved, but majority of it is down to him, because I think if you look at that game, that was not a Brendan Rodgers team that was out there. Yes, it was the Brendan Rodgers players, obviously, but those changes wouldn't have been made at half time. And to be honest with you, I think we'd have probably gone defensive to try and hold on to a 3-0 loss.
Yeah, so if you're wondering why I'm going off the camera, I can't be bothered to try and fix this because it's doing my head in. So I'm going near my earpiece, and all you see is the door. Yeah. But yeah, I honestly, people might be saying about this, and I know there'll be them depressives going, substitutions, Man City, gas off the fort, yawn, to the same old repeat broken record statement. But if Brendan Rodgers is in charge, right, then I would have 100% agreed with Boris on saying we threw in the towel, because Brendan Rodgers would have kept it at 5-4-1. He would have had 9 men behind the ball. He'd have kept Vardy on for 80 minutes or 85 minutes before he put Dakary and Nacho on. Could predict it like a sheet, right? He'd have taken Ndidi off and put Samari on. He'd have taken KDH off and he'd have put Mendy on. And he would have left Vardy on till the very end until it was pointless. And we'd have either lost the game 3-0 or we'd have lost the game 5-0, because it has shown no intent on, if we concede 1, let's at least score 2. We don't get any points for winning the second half. We're not Jock Wallace's rules, but let's show what we are capable of and get our own confidence from it, because that gave us a more pleasing afternoon than what it started out as for the first 20 minutes in it. The rest of that game was a bit more pleasing on the eye to watch from a Leicester perspective. Oh, no, I can't hear you.
So I'm muting myself so in the hope that you wouldn't hear any, get the echo. You didn't get the echo, you didn't get any of me at all. But we did when we won the second half. We should have 1.5 points. But look, this is the truth of the matter is that is how the table looks at the moment, and it is depressing. But we've got to take hope that I think we've stumbled onto the right manager because of other managers that turned us down. Would I be looking at that if Jesse Marsh was in charge, thinking, we can still get out of this? No. With Dean Smith, Craig Shakespeare, and John Terry in, I'm looking at that thinking, we've got a fighting chance here. Results have gone our way this. There's a couple of them are starting to get out of. I think Palace are safe. I think Wolves are safe. Just to be honest with you, a couple more points will do them. But I don't. And Bournemouth, well, they've just again somehow pulling results out. But West Ham are still in it. Leeds, Everton, Forest. Like I say, all the results apart from possibly West Ham's went for us. They are catchable, those teams.
Yeah, they're definitely catchable. And again, you look at the run-ins that these teams have, and I know, again, on paper, we've been doing this all season and we've never covered ourselves in glory. But there is such a different feeling. You look at the teams, and
you've seen
me personally,
league, haven't you? There's no way you can say we cover ourselves in glory.
Exactly. But me personally, right now, I know you might say, yeah, West Ham 31, even if they maybe lose that game in hand as well. I cut the table off at Leeds. Anything at 30 plus is more than a game we need to turn around. And I know we're technically 4 points off Leeds, but we've got to play them. And if they're going to drop points, we could overtake them, get there. 17th, 16th is safe. It keeps us in the Premiership. It redeems that. We can renew our status and our membership for Premier League football next season of doing that. And there is no reason, if you look at our run of fixtures, we're playing, we are playing Everton's, we're playing Wolves at home, we're playing West Ham at home, we're playing Leeds United. Okay, it's away, but Leeds 5-1, easy. So, you know what I mean? We've got to have the advantage as long as we do the job. And if we play the way we did against the second half, I don't think any other teams, Man City are one of quality that can blow you away in 20 minutes. I've seen nothing from the likes of Everton, Leeds, and for the majority, West Ham especially, this season, for me to suggest that they could blow us away in 20 minutes. And I don't think we'd start defensive against them. I think we're going at them. So, cut the table off at Leeds, focus on Leeds and Everton and Forest results, and I think we've got the best chance of staying up as long as we do our job at home, especially.
This weekend, Southampton are
relegated.
Well, they're away at Arsenal, so it could be. Look, I've just watched then, and Mohamed Salah, although he's off the pitch, is smiling, but his team are 5-1 up. I think I'm allowing him to smile. Anyway, don't get me started on that again. So Southampton are away at Arsenal. We're hosting Wolves, a big 6-pointer. Forest are away at Liverpool.
I swear to God, Doug. I swear to God, we will fall out personally, and it'll be all your club's fault.
Well, you went from 1 job, Doug, to 3 job, Doug, and you're finally doing it now. But it's a bit late. We could have done it earlier in the season. But yeah, they're hosting Forest. Everton are away at Palace. And whenever it's an away game, I think you've always got to look at it and go, yeah, that's good because they're not as good away. And Leeds are away at Fulham. So, again, you've got to look at that and go, a couple of those results could go our way. And yes, it is in our own hands, Boris. I accept that 100%. But we're going to need the help of the other teams around us losing.
Yeah, and that's our own fault that we're in a position where we are, to a degree, relying on other teams because we are points apart. I know, anything other than a win for Forest and a loss for Everton, and if we beat Wolves, we'll be out that bottom 3, but we're still reliant on results. So it's not in our hands as such. But like you said, I've already stated this. I'm very thankful that the Wolves game is at home and not at Molineux. After their result last week, I don't think we would do very well at Molineux with the crowd behind them. But this is it. It has to start. This is it, though. The only problem is like Dean Smith said himself, and Ian Smith, he said it as well, apparently. He said, he said it has to start. We haven't got time for bedding in. We haven't got time for the first 2 or 3 games to pass us by and then go, okay, now I've got it, let's crack the code and go. We have to get a win against Wolves. Now, I don't know, maybe if they give Baby oil to one of their players, we'll get a 1-0 win because they'll keep missing the target. I don't even know if Troy even plays them now, so we might have to get a red card for Diego Costa to wound them. But by any means necessary, we have to beat Wolves.
6.
Oh, Leeds, just give up. Take the points deduction.
No. Liverpool carry on, because at the moment, I was just about to say, this is doing us a favour because Leeds are currently minus 19. That's just gone up if this stands. And I'm just having a look. Yeah, he was onside. He's got a, well, we never know with VAR, but that takes them to minus 20. So, and we're on minus 14. That could
be a point
down to, isn't it?
Well, it really could do this season, especially between us 4 clubs. It could come down to a point or who scored goals. This rate, it won't matter if we win every game 1-0 to the end of the season, because our goal difference will keep us up on in terms of negative comparisons. So, yeah, it's a great result in terms of a beating. Long may it continue. If Southampton can lose to Arsenal and pretty much relegate themselves, then we just start narrowing down positions and keep it going.
I can see that is onside. What the hell are VAR taking so long for?
It's strange how sometimes the clear and obvious doesn't get it. Brighton against Tottenham stood on his foot.
Yeah, so it's given. It's 6-1. And you look, I mean, Everton are minus 22, Forest are minus 32, and Southampton are minus 29. Everybody's saying, well, Southampton are gone. Well, they're only 2 points behind us. Let's not, get overly excited. But, yeah, I mean, this... And that's what we've got to say. People saying, "Oh, it was Manchester City and what have you." We could have, after 3-0 down, and I think that was what was at the back of my mind. After 3-0 down, I'm thinking this could be a cricket score, and we don't want that. And the fact that we came away with like -2 in the goal difference column, I think that was good for us.
Yeah, it was, and again, it's just circumstantial of how it went. You can't help a bloody left back, centre back, right back, no income tax, no VAT. That was going into a song then for me. But you know what I mean? You can't help if a centre back does a Vincent Kompany and bangs it in the top corner. It is what it is. I think it was Ant that said it on your show, where would Leicester fans be so pessimistic about it had that been a case of the goals were 44 minutes, 65 minutes, Leicester nick one back and then they get 182 sort of thing? Would it paint a better picture, or it's just how it goes sometimes?
Yeah, I think I said it. And I think we wouldn't have felt as bad.
No, exactly. And that's just how it goes, isn't it? Unfortunately, in football, sometimes you get them in. I mean, go back to the Newcastle debacle on Boxing Day when we were 3-0 down within 12 minutes. We never looked like scoring in that game. At least against Man City, we actually did score, let alone look like scoring.
Yes. Yeah.
2 complete comparisons, 2 different managers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. And that's what's given me the confidence, to be honest with you. And also watching the Leeds owner squirming in his seat as well.
Oh, no, but remember, they've lost 6-1, so Leeds would have played really good football.
Look, I know you're not a stat man, but how many... I mean, I think it was it 2.5 games we went, not so long ago, in the most recent memory, where we never had a shot on target.
Yeah, it was. I actually remember it because in the game when we hit a shot in anger in stoppage time, it was like, why is it taking us 90 odd minutes to do it? And it threw me back to a game when I had to listen to it on LCFC radio, where I can't remember the other guy's commentary who does the normal things for it, but he kind of went, oh, there was a chance there. And Matt Elliott went, yeah, but why is it taking Leicester 89 minutes to have a shot? And now you think, again, the comparisons and the difference between where we were 3 games ago to the performance we've seen.
Yeah.
You can try and suck the joy out of it as much as you like, or you could actually go, well, yeah, at least with Rodgers in charge, we know it would have got worse than 3-0 and just take it as it was.
We had more shots in this one game against the current, let's be honest with you, champions and possible future champions, depending whether Arsenal implode or not. We had more shots in 90 minutes than we had in like almost 270 minutes in those 3 games. It's all finished 6-1. I'll take the point. But look there, you can see, I mean, they had 12 shots. They scored with 3. They had a conversion rate of 25, or ours was 9%. But if you don't have shots on goal, you don't score goals. It's as simple as that.
Okay, Michael Owen, calm down.
No, but it
No,
is,
but
isn't it? And
yeah.
when you go 270 minutes with not having a shot on goal or shot on target, it's like, how the hell are you going to score?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
And when it's wet, the ball gets wet and it makes it harder.
I know, and if your keeper concedes goals, you're not going to keep clean sheets. You know what I mean?
How dare you, sir?
I know. I'm sorry for swearing at you, calling you such a vulgar name.
Yeah.
But no, it is true. And again, I mean, I don't know. People are going to say, "Oh God, listen to you two or mention him. He's only been there 4 days, like he's a godsend." But even Dean Smith said, didn't he, in his first official press conference, I sat there and watched the Bournemouth game, and if I was 80-20 about taking the job, I'll be honest with you, after watching the energy and the desire from you, so I went to 50-50, but still took on the challenge. But we didn't have a shot in that game, did we? And that was the biggest anger. It wasn't so much losing the game. Yes, that naturally made us annoyed and disappointed, but it wasn't like we throw in the kitchen sink at Bournemouth and somehow they'd spawn a goal and we just, one of them games where you're going, how the hell did we not score? We're ranting for a different reason. It was for 90 minutes we saw it coming and eventually it happened. You know, you'd like to feel that second 45 minutes, if that's the blueprint for how we play these last 7 games, that we're not going to come away and have a post-match like this and be going, oh my God, same old Leicester, did nothing, no shots, boring. You know, we're going to feel like we're going to give an effort for every game.
Yeah. Boris says, if we don't get corners, we don't get shots on target. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's, you know, you could say that. But look, 12 attempts to Man City. Of those 12 attempts, only 2 were from open play. We had 11 shots on target, 7 of which were from open play. Only 4 from set pieces, and only 8 from set pieces for Man City. I can say, I know you're not a big lover of stats, but I'm looking at that and thinking, oh, you know me, I've torn into the side this season when we've, you know, as a Premier League team, we've not had as, you know, a shot on target, like I say, for 2.5 games. When you look at that, we, you know, yes, we lost, but we were going toe to toe with the champions.
Yeah, we did in parts of the game, and I think that's the thing that just kind of people read too much into these stats for, because people go, "Oh, no way, the game was that close. There's no way Leicester that." Well, we did. You forget that we did actually have a spell of dominance, and that was shown. If you was to put that in them time brackets of, say, the first 30 minutes, it would have been 0 shots on Leicester's side, and Man City would have probably had 6. But if you went on, say, the 60th minute to the 90th minute in the last half hour, you'd have probably seen 1 shot for Man City and 6 shots for Leicester. So it's periodically why the stats look more even than they do. Yes, over 90 minutes, Man City were all but in control, but Leicester had periods of play where they warranted them shots. They pressed the occasion, and they proved that, you know, you look at the way Man City actually played that 20 minutes, Chris. I felt they were quite edgy. You know, not just the way because the way they gave away the ball to Maddison wasn't lackadaisical. It was nervous touch of the ball. He couldn't get it under control. And like you said, you know, if that had gone in, Pep Guardiola would have been going, oh, maybe I showed my hand too soon. You know, they would have been nervous. They would have been nervous. And I know people say hindsight and all that, And you know, some negative Nelly would have probably gone, no, Man City would have just gone down the other and scored 4. There was no sign of it.
No. And just, funnily enough, with you saying that, I'm just going to show you this. And I don't know if you can see this on your phone. But on that screen there, it just shows, like you say, after sort of the last, well, after 75 minutes, you can see the yellow there, which is Leicester. So I know it's a bit confusing, but you can see we had quite a bit of the play in that last sort of 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, we did. And again, periodically is when you have to look at the moments. You'll always have sections of the match where it's broken down, And if you was to put that to the first 20 minutes, you'd be going like that. Where's Leicester's numbers? Where's Leicester's yellow bar? Because it wouldn't have existed.
Yeah.
And it just tells you that,
well, you can see
a game is 90 minutes. And just because
there's only one bit of yellow at the bottom there.
Exactly. It's like you're looking for a needle in a haystack, as they say. But that just tells you. And again, however you analyse the game, whatever your opinions are on how teams went about it in the second half, it tells you that Leicester found a way to not just cope with Man City, but penetrate them, get in them, and puncture their armour. And yes, inevitably, it didn't. In the end, it didn't account for anything in terms of a result. But it shows you enough to know that we have changed something. He has managed in 3.5 days to change something. Because again, anybody in the chat would honestly tell me any game this season, Leicester were 3-0 down, 2-0 down, or just losing a game in general. Did you feel or see anything on that pitch to make you feel that Leicester were going to get any form of positive from it? That was the first time this season I've seen Leicester lose a game, and I've seen that effort in the second half and gone, you know what? If you'd have offered me 3-1 at the kickoff, I'd have asked the referee if we can pitch the result now and take it, and as long as the performance is there. And that's where we need to be looking at.
This is where it does show the gulf in the two sides. The passes, 781 for them, 329 for us. But to be honest with you, it's not unexpected. And again, like you say, you can take what you want out of stats, you can ignore what you want in stats. But at the end of the day, that's why... that's what your money buys you, I guess, doesn't it? 781 passes in a game. But at the end of the day, as you always say to me, Brad, the only stat that matters is the number of times that ball goes between those white pieces of wood.
Exactly, mate. That's the ultimate one that decides your result and your fate in the end.
Yeah. Just want to bring this up from JB. I'll let you... said Man City helped us out subbing their main players off. Like I said earlier, JB, I don't think you were in, but Alvarez coming on, is that doing us a favour? I mean, you're replacing one world-class player from another one.
Yeah. So saying Man City subbed their best players off helped us out is like... I don't know. It's like saying that you downgrade. You decided to spend the weekend at your 7-bedroom house instead of your 8-bedroom house. You don't really notice the difference that much. They have put that side out, JB, as a starting team before. We played without Haaland at the King Power, and so trust me, saying that they helped us out. Go on, honestly. This is the only time I really desperately express this, and people are going to say I've got a love interest in Pep Guardiola. I don't. I still think he's taken an easy job all his life, and he'll never take a hard job in terms of money and unlimited talent being at a club. But go and listen to his press conference, his changing room antics. There's a video out where it's like comparing Neil Warnock and Pep Guardiola. You've probably seen it. You know where I'm going, Chris. I know it sounds a bit drastic. But he's talking sometimes to a team of dressing rooms when they've won a game 2-1 or 3-1, and he's like, yeah, fantastic, we won the game, but why did we sit off? Why are we practicing this and you still let them score? Why are we and I guarantee you he would not have been happy with them players coming on and giving Leicester a sniff. No. So you can't look at it as if, why were Man City doing us a favour? Did Pep Guardiola go, okay, well, you know what, Leicester, I want you to stay up, so go and get a goal to give you goal difference to help. We'll help you out. I'll sub Ederson. Why didn't he sub? Did he sub Ederson off and put like a 5-foot bloke in goal? No, he put strong, good goal scorers. I mean, Alvarez has scored 11 out of his 14 goals at Manchester at home this season, so they weren't exactly putting on a non-prolific striker. So again.
I mean, like Ray says,
an 8-bedroom house for a 7-bedroom house, you don't notice the difference too much.
Not if they're all en suite.
Exactly.
Ray says, yeah, Haaland is a Vardy fan. But JB also says, I was positive a few weeks ago about Leicester staying up, but now I can't see it. We are spineless. And I mean, obviously, you watch the game, and that's your opinion, JB. But for me, I actually feel more positive, a little hell of a lot more positive than I did a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so do I. Look, the negativity around the club and the performances is obviously taking a toll on it. And JB probably saw the game in a different light. So respect that. But I would again reiterate something I've said a few times tonight, JB. Ask yourself this question: Leicester under Brendan Rodgers, do they get a goal, or do they lose that game 3-4-5, maybe even 6-0 because they go scared? They put 11 men behind the ball, desperately praying that Man City don't add to the goals, because I think they do. I don't see a positive. You know what? If Brendan Rodgers is in charge of that game at half time, I'm turning it off and I'm putting the radio on, so I don't have to watch it. I'll still listen to it before anyone snaps my head off, but I was turning. If Rodgers is in charge of that team, I'm turning it off because I know what's coming. No substitutions until the 60th minute, like for like. Vardy on until Nacho comes on 86th minute. Leicester lose anywhere between 3 and 9-0. Yeah. That's what happens when Rodgers in charge. Smith changed things up. We got a goal. We had a good go at Man City, regardless of Man City's mentality and concentration levels. You can only play what's in front of you. And I'm like you, Chris. I've looked at that game and gone, you know what? Go for it. I've got a bit more. I had no belief.
Yeah.
I was still under the impression we're going to see the same old, same old. So from what I saw to what I'm used to seeing, I'm actually swapped my confidences here that we can get out of this situation.
Yeah. I mean, just quickly looking there, I'm not going to go through Manchester City, but you can see they've actually not been listed with any weaknesses. But they're saying Leicester created a high number of chances relative to their possession, were effective at creating goal-scoring opportunities from long shot situations, were effective at creating goal-scoring opportunities from set pieces. It's a long time since I've looked at one of these post-match and seen any positives on the Leicester side. Okay, we gave the ball away a lot of free kicks around the box, and we were caught offside often. But that doesn't read too bad to me.
No, it doesn't. A, there's actual positives in the Leicester section, and it's not full of negatives. And B, the negatives that are there, I would say, you know what, I'd say 100% of the league has that as like a nitpicking negative, especially against a Manchester City side. You're going to give away free kicks. You're going to give the ball away. Teams will do it far less than Leicester did in that game, granted. But, when you're talking nitty-gritty, I don't know. People are going to say, "Oh, you've got a hate campaign going here, you pair." But Brendan Rodgers, there's no positives from that game. I'm telling you that now. Before the game was even kicked off, Brendan Rodgers in charge. Leicester's positives are the season's not over. That would be the only positive you'd be able to put up for us here. At least there's genuine positives being written, and it's a good thing, Chris. It's better reading. It's still not brilliant because we lost the game and there's still things that need working on, but it's better than what we've been reading for the last 7, 8, 9, 10, 38 games, you feel like, watching Leicester this season.
We're going to just take a very quick 10-second break, and then we're going to be looking at some of the individual players and performances straight back after What the Fox Said.
Hello, Matt Elliott here. Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Indeed, and please do what they say. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and do the same with Brad's channel, Top 10 Battles. So we're going to go through, like I say, just a few of the players briefly. But for me, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall needs a rest. I just think, is he as good as we seem to remember he was? Or is it just the fact that the whole team's kind of like that at the moment?
See, this is the problem, and I do feel for Dewsbury Hall, and I don't like the fact that I'm already seeing fans going, "Oh, we need to take the blue tint off. We need to just forget it. He's not as good as we think he is." No, here's the problem, right? When you've got a creative midfielder, right, and I'm not making any comparisons in terms of ability here. I'm just making a quite obvious point in their role. When you've got a creative, expressive midfielder like Dewsbury Hall and Maddison in your team, right, you need to learn to allow them to do their own devices. And what I mean by that is, what have we seen from Maddison this season and Dewsbury Hall that they have in common? It's a rhetorical question. I'll answer it for you, Chris. And that is, we've rarely seen them play in their area of strength. Now, yes, that's been down to injuries, with Maddison especially, I grant you, right? But even sometimes when the team's been as close to fully fit as we've been able to this season, we have seen Maddison play in the centre, in the number 10 role. We've seen him on the left, we've seen him on the right, we've seen him as a bloody false 9. Now, the false 9 and number 10 are very similar, so we can play them quite well. But we've talked about Maddison being exhausted because he's been forced to play because of injuries. He's been played out of position, so he's looked naff. We haven't been able to get the best out of him. Now, here's the fact with Dewsbury Hall. He's played in the centre midfield, and in transition, he's played alongside Madders, if you will, as almost a Tillemans number 8 style, alongside him as a second number 10, if you will. But he's played on the left. He's played on the right. He's played as a central defensive midfielder. So that's 3 out of the 5 positions he's played, right? This is a pair of them. They just have in common 5 different positions and roles they've been asked to play. Only 2 of them are they good at. And that is similar areas of the pitch. You cannot look at Dewsbury Hall's season and think, oh, he suddenly lost his ability to play football. No, he's just not a defensive midfielder. He's not a wide midfielder. He is an attacking, creative midfielder, and you need to give them 2 players that middle role. You don't like Dean Smith, and I'm sorry to keep bringing him up with things he said, but it's true. It's like Dean Smith said about Maddison. The first thing he turned around to Maddison and said is, why do you keep coming so deep for a ball, and why are you getting the ball so deep when you can't do bugger all with it? Basically, that was the longer term. And it's the same for Dewsbury Hall. He's got electric pace. Look at his goal at Liverpool, Chris. Did he pick the ball up inside his own box, or was he fed the ball on a counter break and he burst through their defensive line? No, he picked the ball up on a counter press, burst through Liverpool's defensive line and put us 1-0 up. That's how Maddison scores his goals this season, and that's where you get the best out of Dewsbury Hall. You have to look at how a player's utilised sometimes and not how they're performing. I know we expect them to be able to do numerous positions, but you can't ask somebody to do a job that they're not that talented in. And unfortunately for us, whether we like it or not, Dewsbury Hall might be a one-position pony, if you will, because he cannot do the central defensive work. Play him in his strengths and you'll see the best out of him.
And do you think he, I mean, obviously when he burst onto the scene, he was great, and he had, well, maybe say he's playing a different role then, but, you know, was Rodgers, we know Rodgers, and I think it was Rob Tanner at The Athletic, so I do respect what he said that Rodgers doesn't have a small squad because he has the same size squad as everybody else. He just has a smaller pool of players that he trusts and wants to sort of pick. And, you know, Dewsbury Hall, is it, you know, yes, we know he can be good and he's attacking and his heart's in it and what have you, but he needs, you know, you can't keep picking him on how he was a season ago or even 9 months ago, can you?
Yeah, and I think we saw that with the lack of substitutions throughout this season by Rodgers. Because, look, there is not a manager in the world from Premier League down to the Ishman Premier League. Shout out to technically my second team, #United, if you know the YouTube channel, who've made it to Ishman League. That's why I brought it up. They're in the Ishman Premier League next season. But from any line of football, whether it's five-a-side and you're managing a five-a-side team or not, you have your core players that you prefer to play, not just because of favouritism, but because they're a little bit ahead of the talent pool that you've got there. I Oh, okay. On terms of a weak foot, no, he is awful at passing. He does need to improve on. There is still get parts of the game that he needs to improve on. I'm not saying he's a perfect midfielder, JB, but I'm saying he also needs to be able to focus on a particular position, an area of that focus. But anyway, as I was saying, it's okay having a core trust group that you have. And if you was to ask any Leicester fan, I would say the core trust at the moment is Soyuncu when he's playing, James when he's fit, Maddison, and then Iheanacho. And then you probably got arguments in other positions, certain areas and whatnot. But if you ask for me for 5 key players, it's probably Iheanacho, Harvey Barnes when he's on form, Maddison, and someone like FaZe, etc. at the back, right? But what you've got to be willing to do is exactly what we saw on Saturday, and that is, okay, I love you guys. Yes, you can turn a game and make a game your own on your day, but you're not having a good day. Off you come. Dennis Pratt, Mendy, etc. You're still more than capable to do your job. Go and do your job out there and do what I know you're capable of. And that's something we lacked and lost with Rodgers, clearly through strange relationships. And that's the biggest thing that we're going to see a difference in for the remainder of the season.
We're going to go through player ratings briefly afterwards, but I was surprised at this rating because Youri Tielemans, I've not been his biggest fan. I don't agree with what he's doing with his contract. But, that again, that's another story for another show. But he is obviously one of our most talented players. Now, I don't think Rodgers was using him to his best ability. Because I don't think that the teams that were linked, well, I'm going to say linked because nobody came in with a firm offer, but teams that were linked with him a couple of seasons ago obviously were not even being mentioned in the same breath as him now. But I think he's been played out of position a hell of a lot. Now, this was, and I've just saw, and again, another player, like you were just saying, that he's been sticking with, Rodgers was sticking with, even when he was having a bad game. It was like he could score 5 own goals and Rodgers still wouldn't take him off. It was like Rodgers and Tielemans was like Taylor and Junior Lewis almost to a point. Not quite as bad as that, but you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
But if he is on form, then you've got to include him in because of what he can bring you. And, I still say if he'd have been playing in the FA Cup the role he's been playing this season, he doesn't get that goal. But that's just my opinion. But he came on, he was obviously subbed off, but it was his first game back, so he was never going to do the full 90. Thoughts on Tielemans' performance?
Well, I mean, can we live in a dream world and take too much impetus in the smile he gave Dean Smith when he turned up? I saw a lot of captions of people saying, find yourself someone who smiles at you the way Youri smiled at Dean. Who knows? We don't know what the future holds. But you can manage a player better who you're not going to pop. There's a 99.9% minus a miracle, let's face it, chance that Tielemans is going to play for someone else next season. You can accept that. And I think you can accept that as a manager, whether you've been there as long as Rodgers has, or you're there like Dean Smith is for 7-8 games. You can accept it, but as long as you want the player on the same wavelength of what you're going to give to the club, and you're honest about it, I think you can manage it better. And again, you always want to try and have an ace up your sleeve. And if you treat it right, whether it's 7 games and bye, see you later, thanks Leicester, off to AC Milan, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Arsenal, whoever, then fine. As long as he leaves everything he's got on the pitch when he's called upon, I couldn't give a rat's ass, to be honest with you, how he goes at this club, because I've kind of accepted it and dealt with it with my own way, if you know what I mean. But you're right, you could still have to utilise him, right? You know what he's capable of. You give him that 60 minutes on the pitch, you take him off, right? And if Dennis Pratt had scored in that game, I'd be going to Youri, going, you're on the bench for Wolves because I can't take that guy off because he's impressed me. I know what you're capable of, But for where we are this season, I need confidence on that pitch. And right now, he's just got a goal. Obviously, that wasn't the case, but you get where I'm going with it. And that's what we'll see, how he manages them players now.
You mentioned there the smile. It will be interesting to see, because obviously there's a lot of players out of contract. And I just wonder, because the players that have come out and kind of defended Rodgers, I think there's Maddison and one youth player and another one. There's very, very few. And I'm just wondering how many players will actually maybe thinking, well, actually, now Rodgers has gone. Because I wasn't getting lucky with Rodgers, but, new manager comes in and, might be interested in a new contract.
Well, to quote the man himself, everybody's got a clean slate. And if you hear that as a player, no matter how it might, there will be doubts. They were going, is he saying that or does he mean it? Well, his actions speak louder than words. Soyuncu's back in the team. Pratt came on and actually, Pratt came on and not in the 87th minute and 3-0 down like he has some. He came on with a chance to impress, get the game, change it, and it was tactical. And, these players, like you said, Chris, there's no reason that these players can't go out there because they're potentially fighting for an opportunity to impress the gaffer to play enough games to either one or two things happen. A, someone snaps them up in the summer very quickly and they can concentrate on the new path and their new adventure with a new club. Or B, Leicester get safe. Dean Smith gets told, here's a 3-year deal as your reward, mate. And they go, still a new slate, gaffer? Yeah, well, contract. I don't know about you, but what would you give me? Because I mean, if you're still willing to play me as often as you did during them 7 games, I'm more than willing to be a part of this rebuild. It happens in football. No, I'm not going to say that will be the case for a Tillemans or even a Maddison, but a player that you've just brought up and Mendy, players like that, might consider their options again.
Yeah. Indeed, when we touched on him earlier, not the player he was, basically. And I don't think he should be guaranteed a starting lineup.
No, he shouldn't. It should be Mendy. I think he's done enough to impress. And I think, you know what, I'd go on a limb. I know Craig does these for you, but I am backing Mendy and Iheanacho to start against Wolves. They're my 2 nailed-on replacements for the starting lineup of Man City. I know Ant said maybe we should need to get rid of him. I think people forget, indeed, he's got a contract to 2026 with Leicester. So we've still got time for whoever's in charge next season, whether it's Dean Smith or somebody else gets appointed in the summer, to turn his head and get his form back. But right now, out of all the surprises, if you'd have told me at the start of the season, Chris, I would never have thought I'd have believed it. But right now, Ndidi is not my first name for that position. It is Mendy. So, yeah, he has to be out of that starting lineup for me.
Contract in the summer, so that will be interesting. We touched on this earlier. Thomas Christensen. Look, they've both got their attributes, and it's good that we can see it. We've got a manager that can see when things need changing. And in some games, Thomas might start and Christian comes on, or Christensen starts and plays the whole 90 minutes. But it was good to see a manager that's making those decisions, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. And again, it's actually, people got on. I think we have a left-back issue. I'm not just talking on the pitch, but I'm talking as fans. We have like a left-back issue with the fans because we seem to hate on our left-backs. We don't like Bertrand because he's injury-prone and didn't look good in the first game or two we played. I know Chilwell kind of brought it on himself. Well, did bring it on himself, but Chilwell was one. And then Luke Thomas seemed to get the brunt of the stick. We forget that he was chucked in the deep end of the Premier League at 19. So it's actually quite good. You would give a king's ransom. I remember that saying being said once about getting a away goal in the UEFA Cup competition against a certain Atletico Madrid. Someone quoted, you'd give a king's ransom to get it. You'd give a king's ransom as a manager to have 2 different styles of wing-backs. And for the right occasions. And like you said, the occasion called for us to be a bit more calm defensively. So we took Christensen off and put Thomas on. And it'll be interesting to see how he analyses Wolves, how he breaks down their games, because he will do, but I'm sure of that by the way he's been speaking. And him, Terry, who will stay away from Wives, and Shaky we'll analyse their games and go, right, you know what? In the first 30 minutes, they throw 5 men up. We're going to start with Thomas. We're going to drag them out. And, but you say he isn't good enough, but he's a defensive wing-back that's been asked to play as an attacking wing-back. He's not a like for like. There's two different types of it. I'm not saying he's going to become a great wing-back. He's still young, but I still think he's got a Premiership know-how about him. But they'll analyse it, and I think they'll make the correct decision. So if Thomas starts against Wolves, unlike with Rodgers in charge, I'm not going to go, oh, God. I think he'll take that and go, yeah, you know what? He's analysed them. He's expecting something off Wolves, and he's the right choice.
We would have been in the shit if it hadn't been for Thomas this season, let's be honest with you. And with Chilwell, the fans hated Chilwell even before, he left and all his shenanigans and what have you. He was England's first choice left back, and we still said he's not good enough for us and he shouldn't be playing. Wobble your head. Sometimes fans get it in their heads. They don't like a player, and fair enough. Like I say, it's a free country. You like who you like. You don't have to like every player just because they're wearing the blue. But I think sometimes we just pick on players, and sometimes it's unfair. Chilwell actually I think, at the end, he probably deserved.
Yeah. But again, Chris, Chilwell is like Thomas. They are not attacking wing backs. Yes, occasionally both of them get forward. Yes, we all remember the goal that Thomas scored at Old Trafford in the win there a few seasons back. They are, when I say defensive wing back, that doesn't mean they never get forward across the halfway line, right? What that means is they're very reserved when they do it, and they'll only do it if there's adequate cover in case they lose the ball, because they know they haven't got the ability to sprint back like Christensen has. An attacking wing back will be up, pardon my wording here, but he'll be up Harvey Barnes' arse trying to overtake him like an impatient shopper in a queue, because he knows he can get up there, and if the team loses the ball, he knows he'll win the foot race back. It's a type of it. Yes, JB, I will say that you're right. Thomas is very weak on the ball, and I do agree he does need to go and eat his Weetabix and build up his strength. But he is a different type of wing back, and that was the thing that Chilwell would. He was getting told to put his foot on the ball and look up for options because he didn't fancy running 70 yards back because he would never catch the winger going down that side. So Chelsea play him the same way.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. Good evening to Brookline, all the way from America. We will know if we are relegated when the team sheet comes out before the next game if Vardy or indeed here on it. And Nate says, really miss James Justin in the team. We might have to start missing him if the rumours about Roma are true. We will wait and see. But yes, you forget James Justin. But
yeah, we have missed him this season. Let's be honest, we have really missed him.
We have, but let's hope the new manager doesn't have quite the same sort of problems in the injury side as Dr. Death did.
Yeah.
Right. Vardy. Now, Vardy played 45 minutes. Iheanacho played 45 minutes. I just want to compare a couple of stats for you. I know, again, take this with a pinch of salt because it was a different Man City in the second half. Vardy had no shots. Iheanacho had 3. Both of those came from 9 touches of the ball. So they both had 9 touches. Vardy didn't get a shot away. Iheanacho got 3, hit the post with 1 and scored with another. They both had 0.5% possession, which is probably you don't expect strikers to have as much as everybody else. Aerial confrontation. Duels, that's the word. Thank you very much. Vardy 0, Iheanacho 4. On the BBC fan rating, Vardy got 5.1 and came 15 out of 16. And Iheanacho got 6.39 and came 1 out of 16. Now, I don't know, I'll be honest with you. I'm presuming that Shakespeare had a big say in Vardy starting, but he can't be starting the rest of these games, can he?
No, he can't. If he does, I would kind of go. I'd be a bit deflated, to be honest with you, Vardy. So it sounds horrible saying it, but I think even Vardy can somewhat see it. And again, it's two different types of. Honestly, Boris, I'd rather Daka for his pace because they play the same way. If you're gonna
somebody, Daki,
Daki is our new left backy. See what I did then. It's the only way I could get to work. But no, if you had a 20, what was Daka 21, 22?
Something like
that. What is fearing you more now? An aging, slow, deeper playing Vardy at 36, or a 20-odd-year-old sprinting, fast, quick place player called Daka? As a centre back, I'm worried about the 22-year-old bursting through and goal than I am. He can't tear up defence anymore. Exactly right. He can't tear up defences and terrify him.
Does Vardy have that fear factor though?
He doesn't.
I would argue that he doesn't anymore.
No, I think the centre backs have gone from going, oh, for God's sake, to phew, it's going to be an all right 45 minutes, because Vardy knows he can't chase them down. Because you know what he's doing different to what he used to do, right, Chris? When they used to pass it around the back and give it nervously back to the goalkeeper, Vardy wasn't doing this. I mean, I don't know what Vardy's doing, but I've seen him doing this with his arms pointing backwards and looking round. Vardy would go into them spaces and run him down himself because he feared he could nick the ball, run past them and get a shot up. He knows he can't do it anymore. If I'm playing Leicester and I'm a centre-back and I see Vardy starting over Iheanacho or Daka, I'm going, oh, well, don't have much to fear now. I'm not as fearful as I was, thinking it'd be Iheanacho giving me a touch. And I just want to say something, Chris, and this is when I kind of want to use stats to my advantage here for a hater of stats in terms of how they analyse and project the game to be, right? Yeah, no, record it, you can have it, right? To every single one of you out there, right, that use this as a defence, oh, but Vardy doesn't get the supply. Vardy 9 touches, Nacho 9 touches. Nacho 1 goal, Vardy 0 goals. Vardy 0 shots, Nacho 3 shots. Who did more with the least supply? Yeah. You cannot use that as a vindication, as a reason for why Vardy isn't getting the goals anymore. You cannot use that as vindication to justify the reason that Vardy's having a bad season, because equal opportunities, one did better than the other. So
you have to look, JB now he said, and he's kind of agreeing with Boyce. With all due respect, anybody could have scored that. Yeah, but Vardy wasn't in the position. He never got into that position.
Yeah,
Iheanacho got into that position. Shots from Vardy. Yeah. Look, Vardy's a great player. He scored 1 fucking goal all season. That's how good he is. And like Brad said, shit this. Oh, he's not getting the service. If you're a good striker, you make your own chances, as he has been for us. But he is not the Vardy of 3 seasons ago or 5 seasons ago. Let's go and dig Frank Worthington up out of his grave, shall we, and put him on? Yeah. Because, he used to be a good player for us. Frank Worthington, he's there. We've got to let these players go.
Yeah, and Chris, it's not even the Vardy of last season. That's how dramatic the fall off is, because he was still our top goal scorer last season. And it's all well and good, right? And this is what pisses me off, right? Because I get that Vardy's a legend. He'll go down in folklore history. I'll love that lad forever. I always would. I will never say a bad word in case of him as a person, right? Yeah, exactly. To up front, the best way to do it would have been the perfect passing of the torch had we stick with that season there, right? But to continue that thing, we wouldn't be talking about relegation season, right? What annoys me is, right, everybody will go out with their pitchforks and their fire starting, and they'll go, you can't say this about Vardy, he didn't have enough things. And the second we go and praise Nacho for having more chances and scoring a goal, he couldn't miss it with 3 yards out. Well, at least he was in the fucking position where Vardy wouldn't have been. Why can't we actually just pack somebody who's going to be our future striker, our future Vardy? It pisses me off when people say that, because if Vardy was there and he had scored it, you're going, see, Vardy's intelligence, that's why we keep him on the pitch. Oh, that's genius by Vardy. You'd have been licking his arsehole. Nacho does it. It hit him and went in.
See what this
And Nacho also hit the post when Vardy wouldn't have taken that shot, so... Come on, grow up a bit with them comments.
Of course I do. Of course I love Vardy. You'd be stupid not to. As I said at the start of the show, if he came in now...
I'd name the stadium after Vardy if I could. That's how much I love the bloke. But it doesn't mean I can't criticise him for being past it.
Exactly. But this season, I'd sooner have Rebecca Vardy on the pitch than Jamie Vardy. So I think she's got a better chance.
I'd rather entrust Wayne Rooney than I would.
But Brockline makes an excellent point here. When Nacho plays with Maddison, Maddison becomes a great presser. These two work so well together. And when I read that, I'm thinking, Mahrez and Vardy, Maddison and Nacho. Now, unfortunately, we might lose Maddison, of course, but they do play well together.
Yeah, they do, because Nacho now kind of does what Vardy did the year or so before this decline started happening. And we did see it last season. We did see him start to decline, and he had that recovery, which gave us a little bit of false hope that maybe he still had another year left in him. We really should have read the warning signs there. But what he used to do was sit higher up the pitch, and he'd hold up the ball, and he'd play it off to Maddison so he could turn that defender and get the ball back. That is exactly what Iheanacho's doing. It's called a deep lying forward. For those Football Manager boffins, they'll be going, here we go, I can get my notebook out and take notes of that. What it means is he sits a little bit deeper and not so far in front, but he gets the ball, he chests it down, that aerial duels, seeing what he wins shows you that. He'll keep it at his feet. Maddison will then drive forward after he's made that pass, so he's nearly up with play to him, and he can lay it off to Maddison, and then he can turn his defender, he can sprint away from him and get himself into position. I mean, look at the pass he made for that chance. He hit the ball. That was reminding me of a Mahrez pass to Vardy. Remember? Do you remember the home game in the Chelsea win when he was setting the record and he put that cross in? It was inch perfect on the toe of Vardy, and he smashed it in. It was almost reminiscent of that. I mean, it was like that. But that's your opinion, mate. Me personally, I think in a 2, he could be one of our strikers, and he did score 19 goals in one season and outscore Vardy in all competitions. So I would say there's potential.
Iheanacho couldn't play one up front, but I think he's beginning to prove us wrong on that.
Would you also like to know that between Nacho and Daka, who have scored, I believe, 8 goals this season, that's 7 more than Vardy, and if you look at the amount of starts Nacho's had to his games to goals ratios, he's actually got a decent record this season.
Anyway, I think we best move on.
I'll die on that hill, as a Nippon would say.
Yeah, exactly. Look, this guy, I mean, I have been screaming for him all season. We will never know what went on between them until one of them writes a book, I'm sure. He didn't do a Vestergaard. He hasn't gone off talking to a local paper for him. But wasn't it good to have him back? And haven't we missed those forward? I mean, he had the ball at one point, and it reminded me so much of Maguire, and Maguire did it in his game this weekend, getting the ball and running forward, and he laid a superb pass off to Christensen, who had sort of gone down the side, so it was in the first half even, having said all that. And, he was just commanding, wasn't he?
Yeah, again, it's been missing. And look, apart from probably the players at the club that will know some of the ins and outs, there's only 2 people that will know the reason why he wasn't in the squad and why he wasn't favourable, and why some very, very strange reasons for it. Sorry, I was just trying to read that. I'll let you read that comment back out to us because it looks quite interesting to read. But them 2 will only know the complete 100% story behind it. And I'm glad in a way that it's gone. Again, that whole clean slate, I can't speak English today, clean slate approach by Dean Smith has us going, well, clearly that is the case because he got straight in the team. Now, whether he'll keep his place in the team if Dean Smith opts for a 4 at the back instead of a 3 at the back, we won't know until we play. Well, we won't know until 2 o'clock on a Saturday when we play Wolves. But if he's not in there, that doesn't suddenly mean, that was just a one-off thing. No, it just means that, he's picking a potential. But again, we talk about Iheanacho should definitely start because of his performance in that 45 minutes against Wolves. The same said here. Even if it does go for a 4, I would be. I know I'm contradicting myself, but I wouldn't necessarily panic if it wasn't Soyuncu. But I would be a little bit feeling, I thought he deserved it after his performance because yes, he did play well. He was creative. He was trying to get the ball in behind Man City. He was trying to get Leicester on our front foot by giving it to an option who was going to use flair, which is what Christian gave us. And we talked about it earlier in the show, that short, before it got broken up by Leicester themselves with KDH selling and Ndidi short, he was a part of that creative movement in a 5-man press all of a sudden, which is exactly what it becomes when we're in ball. The midfield becomes 5, not the back line of 4, which people fail to pick up on. But yeah, he looked good, deserved his man of the match. Maybe it was met with a little bit of favouritism as us fans because we really do love him and we really have missed him this season. But it's just something we've been starved of on and off the pitch. So, yeah, he played really well.
And I've got to say, it was nice the fact that he got Sutar in between the two of them so he didn't have any hairnet problems. I mean, when you look at Asset, I mean, he's probably going to leave in the summer. I really hope he doesn't, because if we play 4, then he might not get in because you've got Sutar and you've got Faze, and that is probably going to be the future. If we're honest, they've been brought in. That is probably going to be the way we go forward. But then again, you don't know what manager's going to come in and what they're going to decide. That said, injuries, and we all know about that. You need that cover. Now, if you've got 3 centre-backs, to me, with Sutar, Faze and Soyuncu, rotating them round, I think that's 3 brilliant centre-backs to have. Now, Evans, I'm sorry, do not give him an extension to his contract. Love the guy, keep him in the dressing room somehow, but he's never going to play again. He's injured. He just gets injured too much. We don't want to be paying somebody that's never going to play. We've had that with Bertrand. And Amarte, look, I like Amarte, and I think another player would have been fucked without, to be honest with you. But those 3 have got to be our 3 first choices, whether it's in a 3 or 5 at the back, or alternating with a 4. I think we've got to do our best to try and keep hold of him.
I think you do, and again, we won't know until this time comes. We won't know until we know what division we're in next season. We won't know until, and I hope whatever happens, it's almost an immediate decision made by the club, whether it's congratulations on keeping us safe, here's a contract, or thanks very much for keeping us in the Premiership. We've all welcome aboard Potter, Pochettino, whoever, etc. Won't know to that point, but there's no reason, right? How many times this season, right, have we said it feels like Rodgers lined up and played to the individual strengths and not a team strength? For all we know, Chris, he might play 3 at the back all season. I know I say all season like we've got 20 games, but what I mean? He could all be. I would be very happy to see all 3 of them play against Wolves, Everton, Leeds, West Ham, Newcastle, Liverpool. You name them, whoever's left. I would be very happy and very satisfied if we played at least 3 at the back, and then 3 started, because it could boil down to the preparation that Leicester have to do next season as a club. If you suddenly get 2 centre backs and a certain Mendy in midfield go, I've played a lot, I like this gaffer, and you've kept him on, it pays dividends to then have 3 players that we don't have to worry about replacing next season.
No, you're right, and I don't think it helps that. And it's the and I am getting absolutely peed off with the Mercury, because you read a story that has got a great headline and it's regarding one line that somebody said somewhere, and yet they've made it into a full virtually full-page story. It absolutely annoys me so much. But I think the fact that we're supposed to be interested in Carrick isn't going to be helping Dean Smith if he's. And I don't suppose he reads it, but get behind him for these 8 games, and let's talk about the manager when it's not nice to be talking about that, I think, when we should be getting behind Dean Smith. But look, those are the players we want. It was great to have Soyuncu back. I'd love to keep him wherever we're playing next season. I don't think he will, but it's going to... Well, like on Saturday Night Takeaway, you have Ant versus Deck. I need to get a jingle done for it, and I haven't got it, but we need to have Brad versus Jordan. And that's coming up straight after this.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Is indeed. So, I've got, because, like I say, it must have been the email must have gone to the wrong address, Brad, and I didn't get Brad's mark. So what we've got down here at the moment is Jordan's marks, and we'll just see if Brad agrees with them. He's given Daniel Everson. We'll speed through these, Brad, because we've nearly all coming up to 2 hours. Daniel Everson is given a 6.
I gave him a 7. I think he was actually very close to the Haaland penalty, which I know doesn't really mean anything because it still went in, but he couldn't do anything about the first goal. Second goal, you're always favouring the penalty taker over the keeper. Third goal's one-on-one with a goal machine. He made a few good saves. I'd have given him a 7 because for what he was able to do, he actually did quite well. I think 6, 7's about fair.
Yeah, better, yeah. Castagna, well, let's go through all 3, like I say, because of the time. Castagna, 5, Face 6, Sutar. We'll do Phase 6, Sutar 5, Soyuncu 7.
I'm going to contradict myself when it comes to this, but I don't understand how you can give so many differing ratings for your centre-backs, because unless they're giving away a penalty or getting sent off, if all 3 of them stay on the pitch, they all kind of have their responsibility job. Now, I agree with Soyuncu. I'd give him a 7. But I would have given Sutar and FaZe both a 6 because they both did. All 3 of them did their jobs. Soyuncu probably did a little bit more just to stand out, and that's the only time I accept one of them being better than the other. But normally, if your centre backs are doing a good job or a bad job, they do it collectively. So, for standout purposes of a man of the match, I'd give him a 7. But it's a 6 and 6 for me for Sutar and FaZe.
Yeah. Castagna on one side, 5. Christensen 4, but he got subbed off, so I guess that's understandable.
I've not rated Castagna for much of the season, to be honest with you. If Ricardo was staying fit, I'd be questioning selling Castagna over Ricardo, if I'm being perfectly honest. Christensen was more the opposition not being the right fit for them in terms of Luke Thomas seemed a better fit, but they both deserve a 4. Christensen got caught out because of the aggression of Man City being able to pass around, and I'm sorry, Castagna's just not impressed me at all much this season, so 4 for both of them.
I mean, again, who would you have played if we hadn't played Castagna?
Oh, exactly, but I mean, I know Castagna is probably more a left-sided player as well than right, but he's just not impressed me whenever he's played this season. He's just not.
Yeah. Brookline. We have got the could be looking at Vestergaard and Bertrand making a comeback. They did play all 90 minutes tonight within the 21s, and we won. So, and Dean Smith was there. I'll be honest with you, Dean Smith and John Terry were watching the under-21s. They played at Seagrave tonight, so. Who knows who could be in the team? Come on, Bertrand, come back. I'm just thinking here, Vestergaard, the new Steve Walsh.
Oh, God. Could you imagine?
That'd please, Brad. Maddison 6.
That's fair. Wasn't his best game, but he had his moments of flair. Could have scored a goal. or probably would have been better off trying to get an assist. But yeah, 6.
Yeah. Ndidi, Tielemans, both getting 3s. I thought that was a bit harsh on Tielemans, to be honest with you.
I don't remember seeing him too much on the ball, but he didn't really do a lot wrong. I agree with Ndidi. I know he was sold short for the goal, but he was a bit of a mess with his feet and clearing the ball at times. I would have agreed with the 3 for Ndidi. I would have given Tielemans a 4. I'd have given Dewsbury Hall a 5. And I will go straight to the killer here. I'm sorry, but 9 touches, 0 shots compared to his substitute counterpart. Vardy gets a 2. Didn't do anything. Didn't do anything that he used to do. And he's proving more and more that he is not a starting player this season. I don't know what more Dean Smith needs to see. Yeah. Like I said to you, congratulations on 300 Premier League appearances for the club. You're forever a hero. Personally, I'd build a stadium and name one after you if I could. But in terms of your Leicester career, get on the bench, mate. Please stop the sentiment with him now.
We have got the Vardy and the Sutar fan club chairman in this evening.
It's nothing on Vardy as a person or his player. It's just where he is at in his career.
It's harsh but true, I'm afraid. You know, like I said earlier, do you want to go and dig Frank Worthington up because he used to be good? We've got to accept that players sometimes get past their sell-by dates, as indeed managers do. Not going to go through the subs because they were what they were.
No, I thought he'd give Iheanacho a 5. I was going to say you can change collectors, but yeah, the subs did all right.
Yeah. This last point here, which was, I just want to bring this up, which was tags after the game. Oops, which isn't that one. Where's it gone? Oh, I've jumped 2 here, that's why. Here we go. Attacking wise, Leicester scored 1 and had 2 really good chances from Maddison and Iheanacho. If one of those goes in, you're walking off the pitch feeling even better. There are positives to take. The problem Leicester have is that they keep conceding goals. As he said there are positives to take.
Yeah, there is. And there is, and you have to take them again. And it might sound silly going, are you trying to kid? Well, you're trying to kid the players in a way, and it sounds so silly and daft. You might think you can't kid them into thinking. No, but you have to. You have to get in that dressing room and not allow them to sit down going, oh, that was hard work. You've got to be in there going, you know what, lads, I'm proud of that second half performance. I asked you to do something, and you did it. Yeah, we got unlucky. Yeah, we hit the post. Yeah, we didn't get anything from it. And yet, we can look back and see if it was Man City or not. That's something. That's my job. What I'm worried about is what I ask you to do, and if you do it or not. And out there, you showed us something. And I will say this is you listen to that crowd. They cheered and applauded the lads for 90 minutes. That's the first time Leicester have lost the game and they've not booed it because they saw something that was worth going. I've seen something worth giving me hope for. And that's what Tags has nailed that on right there by saying there was positives from that game, because there was. Now, Leicester might need to, unfortunately, find a way to score 2 or 3 goals a game just to make sure, because they're not going to keep teams out. But time will tell. But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And with 30 out of 38 games played, it needs to start now that this is the block to
the 8 games that we've got to go are there on the screen now. Wolves coming up at home next, and then a midweek trip up to Yorkshire and Leeds, and then a Monday night on the TV at home to Everton, and then a week after that, a Monday night, we're home to Everton, away to Fulham. And the Monday night after that, we're at home to Liverpool. This show's not going to be on air for 3 weeks. And then Saturday, on the 20th of May, we host Newcastle and West Ham on the Sunday. The only one that really worries me in that is Newcastle. But what Villa did to them at the weekend.
Yeah, there's no reason we can't get some positive results. Look, let's get it down to brass tacks. Wolves is a must win, right? And if you do that, Leeds are handing out goals like it's a charitable cause. Our next 4 games, 9 points minimum. Right, and I'd say Fulham without Mitrovic, who turned over a very poor Everton, that's still possible. Liverpool maybe getting an end of season running, but you're not, again, you're probably going fancy something just because we're the home side. But these 4 games decide our season. Realistically, they do. If we don't get more than 9 points out of the next 4 games, then we might, our last 3 post matches, Chris will be planning for the Championship next season with Dewsbury Hall and, and the lads in the under-21s will be building a team for the Championship. These next 4 games, 9 points minimum. And I'd probably want to say it's 3 wins back-to-back and then Fulham's just a dodgy one and we'd be okay in a weird sense, but we'll see.
I would have said up until tonight that we'd have probably got something at Liverpool, but I don't know now. Look, let's just have a look at a very quick look at a few headlines before we go. Like I said before, we are being linked with Michael Carrick, the Middlesbrough manager. And I mean, again, for God's sake.
It pisses me off as well. It pisses me off. The guy's been in the job 4 days and the Leicester fucking Mercury's toxicating the place by going, next manager. Let the guy who's actually the fucking manager be manager. Stop plastering your shit and smearing the club with your crap. Stop being lazy and you're hiring your crappy journalists. I know some of them used to work for the club, so I know they're bloody lazy and I won't say anything more because I'll get accused for now. But get some decent bloody articles. Get creative with it. Don't just do crap like this. Sorry.
You can't. Everybody was saying about how Harry Potter. I was going to say then, Graham, but look, let him get some experience. Let's get what have you. 8 Leicester City winners and losers after Dean Smith writes slate clean. So he had his winners being Soyuncu, Faze, Iheanacho, Thomas, and he's had his losers as Christensen, Vardy, Ndidi, and Dewsbury Hall. Just because we've got the Vardy fan club in, Boris says it's Vardy's last season. We'll go down without him. We'll go down with him, I'm afraid.
Sorry, Boris, but for God's sake, man, he scored 1 goal in 30 games. How does he keep us in this league? He doesn't. Just please get off the Vardy love train for once and actually see it with open eyes. I don't care for sentiment. I care for goals. And guess what? Vardy's not providing them. If he plays in a 2, maybe just maybe. But on his own, you cannot tell me he keeps us up. It's just not going to happen.
Less than 3 points against Wolves and we are going down. Wake up.
Did I literally not just say that, Boris? Did I literally not just say Wolves is a must-win? I think you need to clean your ears out, mate.
In fairness to Boris, he may. I'm going back up the chat now.
Oh, right, fair. I thought you put it up now. I was like, Boris, please catch up with the timeline, mate. I'm telling you that we need to win against Wolves. I'm in agreement.
But what I don't know is how, and we're going over the old ground here, but I don't know how playing Vardy as the lone striker up front is going to get us those 3 points at Wolves. I really, really don't.
I'm sorry, it's not. We've got to let the sentiment go.
Clickbaiters, yeah.
Yeah, you're right, mate. He's dead right. I can't stand their articles.
I got accused of putting clickbait up when I did my show the other day about Vardy. In fact, I tell you who it was who accused me of doing it as clickbait. It was Boris.
Bad Boris. You're giving this name Boris. You're living up to the hype of Boris's Boris. Stop it now.
I think, Boris, what you did there, because I don't think you will have bothered to click and watch that video and then written clickbait. I think you just saw the thumbnail and went, that's clickbait. So that's why I totally ignored it, because I thought you couldn't be bothered to watch the show. I won't be bothered to reply. And I'm going to leave with this one. We'll leave with this one just for you, Brad. Jesse Lingard.
Oh, piss off. No, oh my God.
Well, one of the clubs said to be keeping an eye on Nottingham Forest midfielder Jesse Lingard, who is available on a free transfer in the summer.
Yeah, do you know the only watching Leicester should be doing on Jesse Lingard is waving him off to the Championship in the hope that he goes down and we stay up. He's a waste of talent. He's a waste of a footballer. Stealing a living is Dele Alli and Jesse Lingard are on the same fucking boat. I wouldn't wish him. I don't even wish him on Notts Forest. He's a waste of bloody oxygen, that guy. His dad should have spunked into a sock on the night he was conceived. The biggest robbery in football, Jesse Lingard saying I'm a professional footballer. Pick an outfit, mate, and stick to it. You're not even a B-Tech Pogba with your outfits. It's a joke.
I refused in the summer, and I'm going to refuse this. I did in January, and I'm going to do the same this summer. Is that I'm not going to comment on rumours because literally you're putting 5 or 6 rumours up every day. Because, whether it's Now, whether it's the Sun, whether it's the Mail, whether it's the Telegraph, whether it's Fabrizio, whether it's Rob Tanner, I mean, there's just 6 different ones that will come up with 6 different rumours. So, when we actually sign somebody is when we will comment on it.
If you took every report seriously, Leicester would have 90 players or they'd have no players.
Yes, yeah. Nate's gone. Goodbye, Nate. Thank you very much for popping into another good show.
I've never liked him, mate, personally, and I don't like some of his attitude. His entitlement to have a testimonial at Man United when he hadn't played. I don't like certain players asking. I can respect personal life, and when he's been going through them personal troubles, I hope he got the right hope for him, and that. But
then
he's still an arrogant, egotistical prick.
That video where he's back doing a moonwalk out of his front door, whatever it was, and he's got to take stick just for that. Just a couple of quick ones. Jim Melrose, if you're an old git like me, you'll remember him playing Gary Lineker, and you'll remember him from that Shrewsbury Town FA Cup game. How can you forget that? 1-to-1, the conversation. It's live and still up there on. Well, it's not live because he's done it, but it is available on LTID TV on YouTube. Lovely, lovely guy, and it wasn't as bad as Steve said. He is understandable. His accent isn't that bad. And also, Brad's in for this. So if you think you're a Leicester fan, Boris, and JB, and anybody else in the chat. Coming soon, it's the big fat Leicester quiz. It's all Leicester fans and it's all Leicester questions. And there might be the odd offside one thrown in there just for the hell of it.
Ali Bayor. Oh no, it's Leicester. GG Campbell.
Probably. Brad, thank you so much, young man. And
no worries, mate.
Stay on and we'll have a chat very briefly afterwards. But just give a shout out where people can find us.
Well, I don't know why you'd want to follow me and my wafflings of football, but if you are interested in things I have to say, you can follow me on Facebook. That's just my name. Find me that way. My Twitter handle is at Full-Time Focus. And for those of you know, in the description, I have a YouTube channel. It's Top 10 Battles, so you'd find me there. But yeah, just do your usual good YouTubing stuff to this channel. If you're new, do subscribe. And even if you've watched it now or all the way through, make sure you drop a like on this video and show Chris your support. He deserves it more than I do anyway. So there you go if you want to really follow me. But this is the place you need to be showing your support to.
Sir, and you will know. Don't believe everything he says. JB, I wasn't questioning your loyalty to the club at all. I basically said it to get a response, which you've obviously just done. But if you want to come on and do the quiz, let me know. You'd be more than welcome. And
you probably beat me as well, JB and Boris. So I'll probably eat my own words on Leicester City questions now.
And then Boris is going on about Daka again. Nate Wenser asks, when is the next Battle of the X's?
I'm working on it. I've got some projects, but my laptop keeps letting me down. I'm going to go through it with Anthony tomorrow for what teams we haven't done, go through it. And we're probably just going to do them on the cuff because I've had some personal things that I've had to do and changes to my schedule in life. It's the only reason the channel's gone where it is at the moment. I promise you it is coming back. But I am going to have a word with Anthony about doing it. And then, yeah, things are happening on the channel in terms of changes. There will be one. I'll make an agreement with Right It. If it's not done by this coming week, it will be next week. Cheers, mate. I will get it sorted. I promise you guys, because I do owe you a great debt for your support for my channel as well.
I'd work that one out, JB. I agree with that's one thing we totally agree on.
It's the name Boris, JB. It just seems to have that effect.
Yes. And I tell you, not all of his posts actually get up onto the screen. So that probably says it all, in fairness. Just to end, Brookline says, we cannot win again until Bad apologises.
I'm sorry, IOC. There you go. We win now. If we do it, I'll apologise for a week.
Have a good night, JB. I did not mean to question your loyalty. I hope I didn't come across like that. And if it did, it wasn't meant to. We're all fans. We all have different opinions. And we all shout and scream for however long the blog is. And we all walk off like after a match at the end of the day. Hopefully all good friends. Brad, thank you so very much, sir. I will see you. I think we're back on Wednesday for the debate show.
Oh, lovely. You'll see my lovely face again then.
Yeah, the women. It's the only reason I get such a high female demographic.
What can I say?
I think that's the word they use, demographic. Anyway, it was a big something. We'll move on. Brad, see you on Wednesday, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you want me to say behind in the chat, yeah?
Yeah.
No worries. I'll see you. See you in a minute.
Cheers. Okay, thanks very much. No show tomorrow. Well, possibly Eurovision shows, but no football show tomorrow. We are back on... Oh, I'm actually doing a show tomorrow. I've got to remember. Can't forget this. I'm actually on a podcast channel tomorrow. Details will be in Twitter, I'm sure, once it's all arranged. And on... I'm confused. On Wednesday, we've got the debate show at 9 o'clock. I wonder what we'll be talking about then. Yeah, you can probably guess. Thanks to everybody that joined in. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all your comments. Whether we agree with you or not, but that's football. It's all about opinions. And look, if I didn't like your opinions, I wouldn't put any of them up on the screen at all. And I do try and put a mix of posts that agree with us and obviously posts that don't agree with us. That's what we want as well. We don't want you just saying, yeah, you're right, yes, you're right. Thank you very much, Brookline. So thanks to Brad, as I say. If you've been listening on the podcast platform, thank you so very, very much. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new. And if you're not new or you are new, just click that like button. That really does help the channel. And don't forget, you can become a member for just $1.99 a month. Doug did it. It's only $1.99 if you're good. You can't even get a pint for that. And you get all extras. It's all in the description. There's a link in the description below. Be sure to do it. Look, this has been LTID TV. I've been Chris. This is Marilyn. Good night.
These videos are so dreamy. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to click the notification bell.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.